wasn't as debilitating as the first one.
Okay.
Also, I feel like I'm getting stronger, especially with the core segment, because the first core segment, I barely made it through, and now we're at least getting more comfortable. We're still winded, going through the core segment, but we can get through. We can do 10 reps of the ab wheel without, breaking down and falling in the middle of it. So
right.
That's
Amen.
accomplishment for me, at least.
Yeah. So you're saying you feel yourself getting stronger and more into the training program itself.
Absolutely.
And you're learning some things about technique. So you're on the daily burn, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're getting better at uploading your information? Well, what's that? I mean, I checked today, and you had your nutrition done, and you had recorded your exercises. So how are you finding time to get that in now?
I had initially set myself, a reminder at 10 o'clock at night to put it in, but I know on some days I'm not at home and I get the reminder. I don't always remember to do it when I get it home. So when I am at home, I do put them in when I get my reminder. At other times, sometimes I have to go back a day and put 2 days in it. Okay. Definitely getting better at that as well.
Use that cell phone for more than just texting your buddies. And Sister Simpson, yes. So what everybody wants to know is, how are you doing with those chips? Are you avoiding the potato chips or not? Let's keep it real. Now, but how's your eating habits doing though, for real?
They're okay. They're okay. They're up and they're down. I have had chips since the of this challenge, but not to the point where I used to. So that's getting better.
Amen.
And I think mainly the whole daily burn piece of this, where we have to log our workouts and our nutritional intake for the day. That's probably my biggest challenge. Coming and being consistent. Once I lock it into my schedule, for the most part, I can make it in. But it's just that accountability at home, actually following through on days when I'm not here, the ab portion. It's just a real challenge sometimes when no one is around to, kind of go that extra mile and do the things that you need to do. And I think for me, that's been like my biggest handicap, the not really assessing, what I'm eating and just not really looking at that, from a day to day. And so I feel like that's going to be, the biggest thing that I need to overcome, but that it'll be the most helpful once I do, overcome. So I'm grateful that there's some accountability there on our parts that I just have to embrace.
We saw you put up 135 on the bench press. That was impressive. Yeah. Hallelujah. So how do you feel? How do you feel about that? I mean, people just come to you, oh yeah, I saw you doing 35. I mean, are you getting your due credit for that, or what's going on?
Quite honestly, everyone's concerned with my cardio. I mean, that's been what they're saying. And so I think they'll be happy to know that we have a whole month coming up for cardio so that we can balance that thing out.
So are you imparting to them some of the things that you're learning about strength training?
I haven't been in extensive dialogue, about it, but I feel like if anyone ever questioned me, I might be a little more knowledgeable than the average person, thanks to Heavenly Body.
So what would you tell somebody, Alicia, if they ask you, where are you working out at, how's it going, and things of that nature? What would you say to them about the Heavenly Body's total body transformation package?
I would tell them that it's definitely worth it, and you get a great workout. It is challenging, but if it takes a challenge to move to that next step, if it was easy, then we wouldn't see any results. So definitely, I would encourage people to come check out Heavenly Bodies when they get a chance.
Okay. Anything else that you guys want to say? What is so right now? What is the main thing going on mentally? I mean, for people who are out there who know that they're 40 to 50 to 70, however many pounds overweight, and they're just sitting there like, man, what am I going to do? It's too hard. Everybody's already thin. Everybody's already skinny. Nobody's going to help me. What would you say to them?
I would tell them that it's never too late to start, because the longer you don't do anything, then nothing will happen. So definitely get started today, or whenever you get motivated, just get started and continue with it, because it definitely is a lifetime challenge. We'll have to work out continually throughout our lives. So get started today.
Sister Bobby?
And I have to say, something is better than nothing.
Absolutely.
And here at Heavenly Bodies, and one thing that I value a lot about this workout is we always either end or start with a prayer, in the Word of God. And for me, I just feel like it's going to take a little supernatural
Hallelujah.
from on high to get, this stronghold off my life. And so, I heard somebody said that God made apples, he didn't make apple juice. So there's something that we have to do.
Okay.
God has provided some things, there's help out there if you want it. Where there's a will, there's a way. But it's a matter of life and death. So I just encourage people to be healthy, and choose life. And
don't forget that to mention to all your friends who are feeling that way, who feel like, maybe it's a financial issue, that Heavenly Bodies does have a free health hour for working out and for, dietary counseling every Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m. We're at 313 West Beltline Highway, Suite 28 in the Genesis building. All right, everybody, sign off. Thank you. Wave to the crowd. There it is. All right. Love you. Bye.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business.
And welcome to This Morning with Muad'Dib. This is Taibu Muad'Dib, and I am your host with the most. I'm definitely excited about what I'm going to bring to you this morning. Today, we're definitely talking about trauma and the 10-step process to overcome that. Let's lock that in. So, spiffy in the morning. Got my morning cup of Morning Joe. Wake you up. All right. Trauma is a very serious thing to talk about. You want to know how to get beyond trauma, how to overcome trauma, how to recognize that you're suffering from a traumatic experience to speak of. So when you want to know how to get over trauma, it's about 10 steps. And that might sound a little bit of like, the 12-step program for AA, but it's a process. The important part of addressing trauma is that a lot of people don't know when you experience trauma, it doesn't ever really fully go away. It's like being a substance abuser. You never really fully recover. You have to deal with it. But what are ways to, how do you cope, right? And so you have to address it, put together strategies, and then you basically are in a situation where, you have activities that help you when you feel triggered. You have activities that you can engage in that bring you back down. So trauma I experienced very young was I was beaten a lot. I was always into a fight. I was always, for some reason, my early childhood, when I say early, I mean like for as long as I can remember, I was getting hit by someone. I could have been 3 years old. I could have been, 10 years old. For as long as I can remember, there was always some sort of situation where I felt unsafe, or I had to fight, or I was getting hit. There was nothing I could do about it. All right. And, I think that when I wasn't in those situations, I tried to act like it didn't happen or exist until I had to deal with a particular challenge. Once I got challenged by something or something became challenging, then I was triggered. The trauma would show up. I would get angry. I would hit people and hurt people. And the bigger and stronger I became, the more damage I did. Let's lock that in. When you hear that sound, that means write it down, record it, do something, comment, like, or share. So I know many of you, trauma, unhealed, know when you haven't addressed your trauma, I know it's holding you back from being the person that you want to be, the person that you can be. I know that until you handle and deal with your trauma, you're hurting people in the community. It could be a snide remark and ruin somebody's day. These days, a lot of people are so sensitive. You can say something hurtful, they can go home and commit an unlivening of themselves. So the bottom line is, hurt people do hurt people. I had this argument in the chat room and people thought it was an excuse. It's not. We have to look at the fact that the trauma that we deal with at any point in our life. You could be sexually assaulted at 40, and now the rest of your life, you have to deal with the trauma. All right. Trauma does not go away, people. You have to address it. So when I come on in the morning, I inform and inspire you. The inspirational thing I can say today is that there is a superior alternative to just acting like it doesn't exist, like I used to do. I used to act like it didn't exist, but in times when I was safe and I wasn't going through being hit or hurt, I tried to act like it didn't exist. It did. It definitely did. When I began to work on myself, that's when I was constantly confronted with, what is this trigger? What trauma is this trigger associated with? Let's lock that in. Think about that. You don't have to get down on yourself for making a bad decision anymore. Just understand that bad decision was associated with some sort of trauma in your past. Trauma doesn't have to be physical like mine. Trauma could be emotional. When my dad left, I was, transitioning into young adulthood. I was 10 years old. He first started disappearing, not show up, and then 13, he was gone for good. And so I had the trauma of abandonment, of separation. And so when I became an adult, the fact that I was hit and the fact that I got abandoned, so now I have all this traumatic stuff going on. So a female wanted to leave me, or she rejected me. I was almost that guy where you wouldn't give me your number and I would do something to you. It was that deep for me. So it's all kind of traumas. You could have the trauma of bereavement, of losing a loved one, a child. You can have all sorts of trauma and just not heal from it. And it becomes the hurt that you give to others. Also, it hinders you from becoming the best version of yourself, especially when it's not self-inflicted trauma. That's the worst kind of trauma to allow you to never really reach your full potential. Let's lock that in. I became more interested in talking to you about my life story and how I became a life coach to help you understand that I'm compassionate. I can empathize with what you're going through. I've been through most of the stuff many of the people I talk to are going through. Need my coffee. Sorry. Let's do a screen share. Follow me over at YouTube at Taibu Muad'Dib to see all the screen sharing. Let's go there. When you talk about trauma coping mechanisms, how do you cope? I mean, because if your coping is like me, act like it doesn't exist when you're not being traumatized or you're not being triggered, that is not a good formula. It's not a good formula. Move this over here. All right, there we go. So, trauma coping strategies. Prioritize self-care, such as eating well, sleeping well, engaging in healthy activities. So most people, the vast majority, I would say about 83% of you who are overweight, you experienced a trauma and your coping mechanism denies you the opportunity to prioritize self-care. All right. And that's tough because, we all want to dress up and feel nice in what we have on. And many of you don't know, like, I didn't decide to work out and become a bodybuilder. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger said that, like I wanted to be the best bodybuilder ever. That wasn't how it happened for me. I wanted to be the top D1 at my school. So to do that, I had to become bigger, faster, and stronger. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your likes. Prioritizing self-care for me became a part of a lifestyle I lived as an athlete without realizing it. So how come something like that didn't also take care of my trauma? Because I wasn't doing that to replace or to cope with the trauma when the triggers came. Let's lock that in. So many of you might look great physically and be in shape, but you don't do that as a coping mechanism when you're triggered by a traumatic experience that you had in the past, by something you experienced in your day-to-day life. It says mobilize a support system and talk about the traumatic experience with empathic listeners, right? Empathic listeners. So now I can honestly say, when you do your research, if you had issues with time management, so you can't put the kind of time into self-care activities that you want to put into, I have a coaching program for that. If you don't have a support system that you can readily dial up or that you know you're going to see on the First Step coaching program, you'll at least have one touch point a week with me to just talk, and I'll listen. And then after that touch point, I will submit to you by email, right then while we're talking. It depends on how well we know each other by that at that point. But I'll be able to give you activities to help you along that way. So time for your self-care, me as a support system, the program, this is why it's so important that you consider Taibu Muad'Dib and the First Step coaching program, because you went through some traumatic experience, and in your mind, you're like, I should get some help, or I should deal with this. So you're stuck in the ideal phase. That's my ideal client. If you're stuck in the ideal phase of getting help for your trauma, learning coping mechanisms for your trauma, getting some support for your trauma experience, so it's not debilitating you from moving forward. It's not hurting you in social situations. It's not keeping you from being the best version of yourself. I want to be your coach. I want to get you into your active goal. I want to get you into your process. All right. Learn about trauma and PTSD and how they affect you. Bam. Let's lock that in. I became an online life coach so that I could impact lives in a much more meaningful and lasting way. As a personal trainer, as a person that sold personal training in corporate fitness environments for a number of years, including my own company, without the learning component, I would get people in shape and they would cycle back. They followed me and my instructions and got better, but then they cycled back once we were separated. Now I can do both, and it will last because there has to be the learning component of the EFC, effort, focus, and commitment change agent. Let's lock that in. It tells you a strategy to cope with your traumas, to learn more about it. How many of you don't have time to learn more? Be honest. If you don't have the time to prioritize self-care, to mobilize, which means construct, create, form, if you will, a support system, you definitely don't have time to sit and do what I'm doing and do research and learn more about it. It says you can also practice relaxation methods such as breathing slowly and deeply, yoga, get massages, use a weighted blanket, probably a warm blanket. You can distract yourself with positive activities like art, nature, laughter, being creative. Make sure that you validate your experience and focus on your 5 senses to ground yourself in that present moment. Or just simply think positively for 12 seconds to shift your mood. Let's lock that in. That's a biggie. That's a biggie. I'm doing a lot of content creating this week. I'll resume making my phone calls on Thursday of this week. I'll resume reaching out to many of you, but first I'm going to send out these emails. I'm going to, I guess Thursday's tomorrow. That's funny. I'm sorry. This time will go by so fast. Tomorrow I will resume making phone calls, but I want to get this kind of information out to most of you through my email funnel. If you're not a part of my coaching community, you won't get this information, the daily tips and free tips and advice that I send out, the inspiration that my coaching community has access to. So you definitely want to get locked in with that. Thinking positively for 12 seconds to shift your mood. So I have a coaching course called Changing Negative Self-Talk, right? How to address that, how to deal with that. So many times, even in this business, I had to overcome negative self-talk about the effect I would have by a simple phone call. Until I brought on clients, and I put a small short ad out there about what a actual call sounds like with the client and how they express themselves. The tough part about negative self-talk is you don't realize it's you. You don't realize it's coming from deep within. You don't realize it's part of your mental construct. You don't realize how pervasive it is. So the experts say if you think positively for 12 seconds, you can shift your mood. I'm going to stop screen sharing, but that's a big one. That's a big one. All right. As always, this podcast is brought to you courtesy of First Step Coaching. Let's lock that in. Let's get that together. Get that banner going. As I niche down, as they say, niche, as I niche down and look at many of you, now I really know what to ask when I call. Now I really know how to reach you, how to get you inspired, how to come down your mobile device and get you to open up to me and talk about what's going on. Because really, if you're still in a phase where you're telling people no when it comes to assistance, then overcoming your trauma in the form of coping strategies, it's not going to happen. And you're going to be unhappy pretty much your whole life. Don't let that one traumatic experience, if it was just one, that was enough. Don't let that one or that many, all that trauma, don't let that stop you from reaching your full potential. I didn't let it stop me. Don't you let it stop you. I want to be your coach. I'm ready to be your coach. I have the coaching program. I have the certification, the education, the lived experience to help you. And it'll be both of us working on your situation, help you overcome and solve your problem. But it's a problem. Admit it's a problem. Own that you have to handle it and take care of it, and reach out. Download the EFC workbook over on my Taibu Muad'Dib page on TikTok, my Coach Taibu page on TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. You have the EFC workbook. It says download this free resource. Download it. Get started. We'll reach out to you. It says to learn more about for FSC, which is First Step Coaching. Look at that landing page. Look at what I've been doing, who I've been helping, how the program kind of works, and then just dive right in. Begin your process today. All right. I want to give you all a round of applause. Many of you are suffering. Many of you are going through something, and I give you an applause because you're all champions. You're all heroes. You're going through something and you're still paying bills. You're going through something, you're still getting up, going to work. You're going through something, you're still keeping your house clean. The kids are still in order. You're going through something and you're still making your partner, your spouse happy. You're going through something and you're still able to function at work at a high level. So I applaud all of you because you're going through something and you're still going day to day, going strong. I just posed this question. What if you weren't going through it? What would your life be like then? Well, today we're talking about Trauma No More, the 10-step process. People wonder why now that I'm going over my course curriculums, because this is a course curriculum actually on, my coaching curriculum list. That being said, people wonder why I'm not talking about the course more than just to talk about the course, because you have to experience it for yourself. Let's lock that in. Write that down. I'm talking to people who are stuck in the ideal phase about getting into their process. Get into your process with me. This is what my process looks like. What process, Taibu Muad'Dib? Achieving my first million. Budgeting, saving, investing, creating new streams of income. I'm in my process. It feels great. It does. It feels great. And I want you to have this feeling as well. I don't want you to get off this podcast without going over to Taibu Muad'Dib 4019 and subscribing. I don't want you to get out this podcast without inboxing me or DM me, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to get into my process. I met a lady yesterday that's had an ideal for 13 years. Many of you just haven't started or gotten your process because you didn't know that there was help. There was, we'll call affordable assistance. So some of you can afford, to have that premium outpatient package at First Step Coaching. Some of you, you want to go ahead and get the base regular package, the base regular course curriculum. And some of you want to jumpstart with our budget planner, pay as you go. And that's all right. I made it affordable for each of you. If you want to jump into it, dive in it, and you want a lot of life coaching, we got that package. If you want the standard EFC change agent, we have that for you. The budget planner. Some of you really need the help and really need it to be at a price you can afford. So we have the jumpstart and the budget planning situation for you. Done all I can do, everybody, to make sure I'm available to you. At the coaching program is available. You have to make the first step. It has to be your choice. But I hope today, I really, really hope today that you choose to get into your process, that you do some homework on First Step Coaching, Taibu Muad'Dib. I really hope you do. Because on the other side of what you're going through is a beautiful life. All of the motivational speakers that you can hear on YouTube, including myself, we're right. On the other side of what you have yet to start dealing with is a beautiful life. Yesterday, I just went live at, at nighttime. I haven't gone, live in a while at night, and just talked about my own personal experience. I'm telling you right now, you deserve that life. But you have to be brave and bold enough, vulnerable enough, humble enough to ask for assistance, to accept leadership, to work on yourself. You owe it to yourself to work on yourself. You raise your hand if you haven't worked on yourself in a while, right? If you haven't worked on yourself in a while, to overcome the traumatic experience that happened to you. It's not fair. It wasn't right, but it's on you to cope with it and deal with it in a way that offers you a beautiful life, that helps you to open up. All right. I really appreciate each of you for joining me this morning. I'm getting short on time. That's all right. But what I want to say before you go is embrace the opportunity in this moment to do something different, to accept, to embrace a fresh perspective. Don't waste this opportunity to hear my voice and know that I've been there, to know that I've struggled, to know that I've lost. It's an opportunity right now for you to get real with yourself and admit that you need assistance, that you need to get into your process, that you've been stuck in the ideal phase like that young lady I met yesterday for years, that no one else can make this decision but you, that your first step is contacting Taibu Muad'Dib at Heavenly Bodies for his First Step Coaching Program. It's been a great show. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. I want to meet your goals. I'm excited about the potential of what we can accomplish together. It's Taibu Muad'Dib, First Step Coaching. If you are ready for your one-on-one coaching experience, I want you to go to Calendly.com/Coach Taibu. It's just that simple. Calendly.com/Coach Taibu. You book your call. We'll have about 15, 20 minutes to see if the coaching program is a good fit for you. All right. to see if you qualify, to see if you're really ready. Inspirational moment. Jack and the Beanstalk. Let's talk about old Jack. All right. Part of my signature speech is the old fable, Jack and the Beanstalk. If you made my webinar last month, you heard it. It was great. It was awesome. It got you fired up. So you never forget. Why is that story inspirational? Because when Jack was offered an opportunity to have magic beans, he said yes. With no hesitation. With no hesitation, he said yes. That means he was ready to do something different than go back home to his expected outcome. Too many of you are comfortable being uncomfortable in your expected outcomes. You know what's going to happen if you continue to do the same thing. And when Jack was offered magic beans, look at Taibu Muad'Dib and his first step coaching program as your magic beans, as an opportunity to make your home, your life, your passion limitless. Remove the ceiling and you don't know how high to go. Just like Jack. He took those magic beans. He went home. This is why it's inspirational. He went home and his mom cursed him. Oh, Jack, you gave away our only means of income for magic beans. This is nothing. And threw it out. So many of you started your process and someone said, you fool, and you stopped. Someone said, you're stupid, and you quit. Someone says, it's never going to happen. You're wasting your time. And you let it go. Jack didn't. She threw them beans out the window. It turned to a beanstalk. Jack didn't wake up and say, Mom, it's a beanstalk. He didn't wake up and say, Mom, can I climb the beanstalk? Jack saw his opportunity come to fruition. He brought the magic beans home. It turned to a beanstalk. He didn't know what was up there, but he climbed. Looking for what? For magic. Something magical. Something that he knew no expectations. Is no expectations better than your expected outcome is now? If you're at work right now, kind of listening to me, going home, you go home, you know it's there. But what if you didn't? What if you went home to endless possibilities? That's what's going to happen when you adopt a different perspective. When you get into your process, you're going to elevate. Jack went up that beanstalk. He didn't care how high it went or if he'd ever come home again because he knew what was there. Poverty. A griping old mom that didn't believe the way he did in something better. Sorry for yelling at you. I get fired up. Jack and the Beanstalk gets me fired up. When I could not stand the expected outcome of my life anymore, when I saw that working the job that I had, even if that was a cool job, it wasn't going to help me financially be the kind of father or husband I wanted to be, I had to find magic beans. Find your magic beans. If Heavenly Bodies First Step Coaching Program is not what you think is for you, if I'm not the kind of guy you want to deal with because I yell, get help somewhere. Get on some kind of coaching program. Ask for assistance. Get the help you need to overcome your trauma. I'm telling you right now, find your magic beans and win. It's Taibu Muad'Dib. Now you know. And that's the show. I'm getting good at that.